Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon is in Washington, D.C. this week. Here he speaks at the annual policy conference of the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. His comments are about a half hour.
Good morning. My name is Howard Friedman from Baltimore, Maryland. It is my privilege to introduce the Prime Minister of Israel. Just last month, he was in the United States for meetings with the President. Today, he has returned to speak to AIPAC. We are eternally grateful to him for being with us at this momentous time for the Israeli people. And just as we read in this past week's Torah portion, Bahar, V'yeshaftam al ha'aretz levetach, and you shall dwell on the land with security. We would also like to recognize Ambassador Daniel Ayalon, who is accompanying the Prime Minister this morning. Mr. Ambassador. Ambassador Ayalon's talents have earned him the highest respect throughout the political and diplomatic communities in Washington. History has taught us a clear lesson. The achievement of peace and freedom requires great leadership. Leadership that is willing to sacrifice and able to make difficult, gut-wrenching decisions that will determine the future of borders, of lives, and of liberty. As the world continues to struggle with terrorism and the threat from radical regimes, the question of leadership is once again of greatest urgency, especially for the people of Israel. Having spent decades as a leader on the battlefield, Prime Minister Sharon has emerged as one of the most important leaders in the quest for peace and security. And he has displayed remarkable courage and uncommon vision during one of the darkest periods of Israel's history. The strength of his leadership is evident in his willingness to take bold steps amid strong criticism and doubt. His historic disengagement plan, approved by his cabinet and the Knesset, has challenged his governing coalition and put his own political standing at risk. Despite these hurdles, Prime Minister Sharon has remained true to his principles, believing that the course he has charted is the right one for the people of Israel and for the greater goal of peace. Indeed, as a new century began, the Israeli people, children riding the bus, friends eating in cafes, families driving in the cars, faced the worst wave of terrorism in the country's history, with more than 1,000 innocents lost forever. Despite this onslaught, Israel's most basic right to defend itself as a sovereign nation has been challenged, and its very right to exist questioned. But under the leadership of Prime Minister Sharon, Israel has worked aggressively to stop terrorist attacks, while at the same time it has worked to establish a dialogue with the Palestinians. In the last 2 years, terrorist attacks have declined dramatically. And perhaps just as important, the Israeli people have a renewed hope for a peaceful future. Prime Minister Sharon is a true Israeli patriot, a farmer, a soldier, a statesman who understands as well as anyone possibly could the risks and the pain that comes with the opportunity of the Gaza withdrawal. Mr. Prime Minister, we, the American pro-Israel community, will be supporting you and the Israeli people as you work tirelessly to ensure a safer and more secure future for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Ariel Sharon.
Shalom to all of you. Thank you so much for this warm reception. Thank you. Ms. Beres Manchurian, Ms. Amy Friedkin, Mr. Howard Kaur, Mr. Howard Friedman, Knesset member and the head of the opposition, Tommy Lapid. I hope he's still here. Nowadays, it's dangerous, to leave the head of the opposition on his own somewhere. Ambassador Danny Ayalon, Ambassador Danny Gillerman, and Ambassador Ari Mekel. I looked around here. I believe that I see many students in the audience here. And I think that it's a wonderful thing to see so many youngsters, such representation of the young generation. So, I'm glad to see you here, but I would like to tell you that we all of us in Israel will be very happy to have you there in Israel. And I would like you to know that we need you now there in Israel more than ever. And we are waiting for you there. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, I came here from Jerusalem, the eternal, united and undivided capital of the State of Israel and the Jewish people forever and ever. And I would like to use the term lenetzach netzachim, which I would say more than forever and ever. I congratulate AIPAC for arranging this successful policy conference. It is my pleasure to join you in person and to close this incredible event at such a crucial time for the State of Israel. Since the founding 55 years ago, AIPAC has proven a close friend to Israel. Your activity and the cause that you actively promote issues that improve the bilateral relations between the United States and us. AIPAC's continued support is more important now than ever before. We attach great importance to the strategic and friendly relationship we have with the United States, especially the current administration. I want to thank AIPAC for contributing to this. You have done tremendous work in order that we would have been able to reach this situation. Thank you for that. Over a year ago, President Bush and I reached a series of understandings that will help guarantee the future of Israel and preserve Israel's character and well-being as a Jewish state with secure and recognized borders. Last month, I met with President Bush at his ranch in Crawford. As a matter of fact, a beautiful place. I enjoyed visiting the place there. The only thing that I felt there, being a farmer myself, that I found that the Prime Minister of this small country, Israel, is having more cows than the President of this, I would say, the greatest superpower in the world. During our meeting, the President and I confirmed our understandings on strategic issues. Clearly, the relations between our two countries are stronger than ever before. The strength of U.S.-Israel relations is also visible in the unprecedented bipartisan support Israel receives in the United States Congress and the public. We see eye to eye on strategic issues such as the global war on terrorism, the need to reach peaceful solution with the Palestinians according to the roadmap, the threats to the stability of the Middle East from Syria, Lebanon, and Hezbollah, and the dangers of a nuclear Iran. Most importantly, Congress confirmed its dedication to Israel's long-term interest by endorsing the principles of President Bush's letter. The roadmap is the only political plan for a peaceful solution with the Palestinians. The sequence of the roadmap states that progress will be in stages in order to examine developments. It emphasizes that true peace will only be realized after full security is achieved and terrorism is eliminated. Over a year ago, in the absence of a Palestinian partner to implementing the roadmap, I initiated the disengagement plan, which was approved by the government of Israel and the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. Let there be no doubt the disengagement plan will be implemented according to the timetable and decisions authorized by the government. We believe this engagement will increase Israel's security and reduce friction between the Palestinians and us. Thank you. It will help advance our national strategic interests, promote our economy and prosperity, and advance the development of the Negev and the Galilee. It is thanks to the disengagement that we can make certain that there will be no entry of Palestinian refugees into Israel. In addition, the major Israeli population centers in Judea and Samaria will remain an integral part of the State of Israel and will have territorial contiguity with Israel in any final status agreement. In addition to the understandings I reached with the President since initiating the disengagement plan, it has gained the support of the international community and improved the status of Israel compared to a year ago. In implementing the disengagement plan, there is a potential of paving the way to the roadmap. Though the decision of disengagement was taken unilaterally. Israel is willing to coordinate elements of the plan with the new leadership of the Palestinian Authority. I call upon the leaders of the Palestinian Authority to meet the challenge and coordinate the disengagement with us. The successful coordination of the disengagement plan will allow us to embark on a new era of trust and build our relations with the Palestinian Authority. However, in this pre-roadmap phase, and we are still in the pre-roadmap phase, we see great opportunities in the election of Chairman Mahmoud Abbas. We hope he will be able to lead his people and create a democratic, law-abiding society that will build its institutions, undergo a broad reform process, fight terrorism, and dismantle the infrastructure and dismantle the terrorist organizations. Israel does not intend to lose this opportunity. We will do our utmost to cooperate with the new Palestinian leadership and will take the needed measures to help Chairman Abbas. We are willing to help Chairman Abbas as much as we can, as long as we do not risk our security. That is the red line. Thank you. After the election of Chairman Abbas, we reached with him understandings at the Sharm el-Sheikh summit. Israel agreed to stop all military action in the West Bank and Gaza, provided the Palestinians stop all violence and terrorist activities against all Israelis everywhere. And we have done several things. We have released 500 prisoners. Upon my return to Israel, I will present to the government approval the release of an additional 400. Israel has transferred the security responsibility over 2 cities to the control of the Palestinian Authority and is willing to reassign more. We take steps that help the economic and humanitarian conditions of the Palestinian population. We are ready to do more. I appreciate Chairman Abbas' strategic decision to condemn violence and terrorism. With this approach, he can be a partner in implementing the roadmap and to move the process forward. But his statement must be translated into real actions on the ground. Until now, terrorist activities have not yet ceased. The smuggling of weapons and arms production continues, and there is no real prevention of terrorist actions. The progress toward the roadmap can be achieved only after the terrorist organizations are dismantled. Appeasing the terrorists and engaging them into the political system, Palestinian political system, will only strengthen them. These actions will disrupt essential progress to the roadmap. It is my hope that progress toward the roadmap will be as fast as possible in order to achieve true peace in the Middle East. Israel is a peace-seeking country. I said in the past, and I say it also today, I'm willing to make painful compromises for peace. I think that the entire world can now see how hard such compromises are. There is one thing on which we will not make any compromises, not now and not in the future, and that is our security. Two weeks ago, we marked 57 years since the establishment of the State of Israel. In those days, President Harry Truman recognized the State of Israel in contrast to the opinion of all his advisors, and he later said, and I would like to quote it, "I had faith in Israel before it was established. I have in it now. I believe it has a glorious future before it, not just another sovereign nation, but as an embodiment of the great ideals of our civilizations." And indeed, in its short existence, Israel had reached tremendous achievements. We have brought millions of Jews, immigrants from 5 continents who speak 82 languages, and they were all absorbed in the State of Israel. They all speak Hebrew, the language of the Bible. We developed advanced healthcare, research, and academic institutions that are among the best in the world. And agriculture, which is envied everywhere. I'm very proud of that, being a farmer myself. We have more engineers per capita than any other country. More start-up companies than anywhere else apart from the Silicon Valley. We are a part of the exclusive group of countries who launch satellites into space. This last year has been very challenging for Israel and for me personally. In promoting the disengagement plan, I paid a heavy political price. But this is where the foresight of strong leadership is realized. Strong leadership is measured by the ability to implement important processes that might initially seem unpopular, but eventually bring positive results. Thank you. The coming period will not be easy, but I believe in the Israeli society and its ability to successfully overcome this period. I am certain that with the determination of the Israeli public, we will be able to emerge from this experience strong and united. The State of Israel will continue to be a vibrant Jewish and democratic nation, a source of attraction and pride for Jews everywhere. We will continue to bring many Jewish immigrants from all over the world, including North America. And please, my dear friends, start the preparations. We will further advance and develop our science, education, and culture for our benefit, and in the future also for the benefit of the peoples of the region. With God's help, in the future, my speeches at AIPAC's policy conference, or maybe conferences, I'm ready to come several times, may focus not on security issues, but rather on promoting tourism or improving Israel's technology sector. Together, as one, we will work to achieve this great goal. Thank you. Israel is grateful for your contribution and dedication. Thank you. And I would like you to remember, we need you now more than ever. We always needed you, but now we need you more than ever. Thank you.
Please proceed to assign law employment. If you have any questions, please ask the legislative